Retraction. What is the lengthened position of cervical retraction?
Protraction.
Cervical.
Oh.
Chin nod.
Chin
poke.
Poke. Oh, yeah.
Cervical retraction is a chin nod, that's correct.
Gotcha.
So the lengthened position is a chin
Poke.
poke.
Mm-hmm.
So we use the example, the chin nod or the two pencils for chin nod. If you want to do a chin poke, you could just show it. Or you could, if it's active range of motion, you could just say, look at 2 tiles ahead on the ceiling. So that it's close. You know, it's not like I'm looking at the tiles down there. I'm looking here from the upper cervical spine. So we'll do active first. So cervical retraction, are you able to just nod your chin? Good. And so then we have to do passive overpressure. So remember, if there's 2 pencils going through, we are tilting this way. So the back goes up and around, the chin goes down and in. So it's this motion for overpressure. Make sure that they don't have any problem with their TMJ. You can go through the maxilla, you can go through the mandible. So we're here, do your chin, good. And now it's this motion. And we're just looking for end feel and pain. And then resisted would be what?
Retraction. Instead of poke, right?
So chin, that's retraction. So the resisted,
I'm sorry, protrusion.
protrusion, so it would be the opposite. So she went into that position, we went into overpressure, and now look towards 2 ceiling tiles ahead, perfect, and I just resisted. So we resist protrusion or chin poke, thank you. So now we're gonna do this is upper cervical, sorry, I didn't start with that. We're good with upper cervical? So now, the reason we say upper cervical is flexion and extension is C0, occiput, C1, atlas. That's its primary movements, is flexion and extension. So we did active chin retraction, passive overpressure for chin retraction, resisted chin poke or chin protrusion. So far so good?
Mm-hmm.
So now we want to do the opposite. So I want you to look 2 ceilings ahead. Good. And so with this, make a fist and use the soft part of your fingers. Because if you do one of these underneath the chin like a fish, they're going to be very unhappy with you. So we're here. So we're here. I'm going to be pulling, and I'm going to be going the opposite direction with the head. Good. And then try to bring your chin back in, and I'm just going to resist retraction.
Do you ask them, do you have TMJ issues?
Yeah, do you have any type of pain in your jaw? You could always, it's not like there's going to be anything groundbreaking where if you want to put your hands up here that it would be a problem if they have an issue with that. But that's usually, the TMJ issues are usually for this one. This one's usually not much of an issue. So we got chin retraction and protrusion for the upper cervical spine, active, passive, overpressure. So now, we checked upper cervical spine, now we need to check the lower cervical spine. But when we check the lower cervical spine, we need to make sure that the upper cervical spine stays safe. So we want to keep it in a nice neutral position. So, to do what we call long neck flexion, we want to be able to look down towards our chest. But to keep the upper cervical spine safe, what position does it need to be in?
Nodded.
Nodded, perfect. So we're going to do the same nod you did before, and I want you to bring your chin all the way down towards your chest. Good. So then we just stabilized the upper thoracic spine. Are you okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Good. And I'm just going to give you a little overpressure. And I know it's coming from her neck because my left hand that you can't see is all good. And we're just getting an end feel, and then I just back off a little bit and come back up. and then I resist her extensors.
So she has a lot of motion, so is that active equals passive, or is the neck slightly more giving?
Yeah, there's definitely more giving, and it could have just been my cues as well. There could be a discrepancy, but it could be my cues. So that's cervical flexion or long cervical flexion. And so now we have lower cervical or long cervical extension. So when we do this, I want to assess the lower spine. So I do not want to I don't want to just have her look up like this, because that's hyperextending her upper cervical spine too much. Why do I not want to extend the upper cervical spine like that? Vertebral artery. So just like before, we do a chin nod. So when you do a chin nod, and maintain that for me and I'm not doing pressure, I'm just guiding her. And I want you to hold that and look up as far as you can. So bring your head back. Good. And then we're there. And then that's it. You guys you don't really have to do overpressure for that one. I mean, if you ever just had them look up without doing it, so look up towards the ceiling, that's fine. You don't do any overpressure there. So if you do not chin nod, just look up. Done. If you chin nod to get the lower cervical spine, so we chin nod, we lead her back. At this point, you can give a little overpressure, and then she's doing it already, but then push forward. Good. And then we check resistance. So I did 2 different ways. Looked up, done. Then we did chin nod and backwards with overpressure, with resistance. One is, you don't want to overpressure this. That's very unsafe. But as long as you're chin nodded, it focuses on the lower cervical spine, you're good. You could offer overpressure.
Which one would you pick versus?
It depends on what you're aiming for. So if they're coming in with like lower cervical pain and problems, I would go into that as much as possible to see how stiff they are, or the opposite, how much they move, if they move too much. Because it depends on the problem. What problem do we expect to be limited if it's upper cervical? We'll say C1, C2.
Rotation.
C0, C1,
Flexion extension.
lower cervical spine.
Oh. Side bending.
Side bending. So that's what's going to give us an idea of how we justify these things, is how provocative they are, what positions do we need to put them in based off of their problem. And side bending. You don't have to have the hand on, but you do want to stabilize the opposite side. Bring your ear towards your shoulder. So with this, I'm going to get in the way of the video. You want to look for symmetry, whether it's in front or behind. So bring your ear over. Good. Over pressure, come out a little bit and push up. Good. Ear over. Good. More of that. Good. And then come out, pull up. Good. That from the front is always good because you could still stabilize. You could see eyes for any facial expressions. You can also justify the back by stabilizing the shoulder blades. Bring your head over to your left. Good. Stabilize, pull up, head over, stabilize, pull up. So that's also functional. So you could justify both. One is comfort, the other is eyes. And then cervical rotation, you could also do from front and back. Look to your left, stabilize, twist, come back, turn to the right, turn to the right, stabilize, twist, turn to the left. Good. You can do it at the back. Turn to the left. Not right, sorry. Go ahead. Good. Turn to the right. Turn to the right. Ooh, you side bend, you compensate. Turn left. Good. That's it. I don't care about which one you choose to do, just know that those are the reasons why you could do either or. So long as I don't see this or this, that's the reasons we, you know, or look up towards the ceiling and you push them back. As long as we don't see those, we're good. All right, is that enough to try? Let's do it.